Gary from Refinish Media here. Today we're super excited about the video we have in store for you today. I'm a master refinish technician with over 30 years in the industry. My family has been in the automotive industry for over 100 years. Today we're going to cover some basic tips and tricks to help you become a better painter. None of the stuff that we're talking about is super advanced, but if you follow our video today, these tips and tricks should help you make more money and save some time. Today's tips are really designed for the person who's in the automotive industry. Maybe you're a beginner, maybe you're an intermediate. If you know nothing about this industry or you're a do-it-yourselfer, you probably want to watch our latest video out, and we'll put a little link up there so you can watch that one first. Our first tip of the day for you guys working in the industry is stop hardlining stuff, all right? We've got this door that we used UV primer on that's real popular in the collision industry. In this door, we did a very basic back tape. And we're gonna show you the advantages and disadvantages of each. This guy right here, I'm gonna do a quick guide coat on it. When I untape this bad boy, these lines are very, very obvious, all right? This guy right here, this is the death of you right here. Now, a lot of people think, well, I can just block that out. I've got a hard block and I'll just block that line out. The bad thing is that sometimes you think that it's out, but then when you go to paint it, it's still there. If we mess up and we hardline anything, I usually will block it out and reprime it. This guy over here, this is a very simple pocketed back tape. So this was back taped here, back taped there, and then you want to make sure you're not primering up to your pocket area so you don't create that hard line right there. So you can see this simple back tape created no hard line, and this is the way that you want to do it. I've got 240 on a hard block, and I don't care if this is urethane or UV or whatever. This line is going to be hard to block out, but I'm still scared that it'll show up later. So I'm just going to take my 240 on a hard block and block it out real quick. It would be much better to step it out and do a simple back tape. You can see it's starting to come up here a little bit, but this line is still real obvious. It's starting to look like it's coming out, but the bad thing is sometimes when it appears to be out and you seal it and base it, you can still see that little ghost line of where the hard line is. So try to avoid hard lines at all costs. There's tons of different products and techniques out there to create this soft edge that we're talking about. This easy edger takes normal masking tape and it'll actually fold the edge over, and it works really nice. I like it a lot. 3M makes a ton of different products to create that soft edge. These are not the only two out there, but these are just two popular techniques out there. When you're messing around and doing custom colors, quit putting your pearls and your candies and your flake and your dye in your clear coat. Obviously, in some OEM cases like RR, there's an exception to the rule. But I'm talking to your custom guys right now, is back in the day, we would put some pearl or some candy or some flake in our clear, spray a couple coats, and put a couple coats of straight clear over that. Quit doing that. This is not 1980 or 1990 anymore. There's plenty of products out there that are like a DBC 500. That's what PPG calls it in the world of solvent. In waterborne, a lot of people call it wet bed. Like in PPG, it's T490. House of Color, they call it Intercoat Clear. Basically what it is, it's a transparent base coat. So you can paint your car black, take your transparent base coat, put your pearl or candy in that, put a couple coats of that on, and then straight clear. So you're essentially making a tri-coat. Why don't you want to put it in your clear? There's zero advantage unless you're trying to replicate the OEM look with RR. Clear coat costs more money. You're supposed to spray it on wet, which you'll tend to model your pearls or your metallics. Will give you more mils. If there's a problem and you get it too thick, it could solvent pop. To put it in your DBC 500 is going to be cheaper, faster, and better for the car. Quit putting it in your clear. Quit dropping your hose on the floor for a couple reasons. One, it's an extra step that you don't need to do. Two, as you get older, it's wear and tear on your body. I know the young guys are laughing right now, but most importantly, the last 3 feet of this hose needs to be sacred. You don't want to get a lot of dirt or buildup on it, especially when I have a spray gun and I'm spraying at 15 to 40 PSI and all the dirt from the hose or myself is getting in the car. So quit dropping your hose on the floor. They're not expensive, all right? I like this one. This works really well for me. We have a video on all Luma 3 products if you want to watch that. It goes over the hose and a bunch of other stuff. But the tip of the day is quit dropping your hose on the floor. Quit being cheap in either the shop or you or the paint team. Invest in some specialty stands. We've got 4 different stands in our booth right now. Some of them are old and well loved, but they're designed for bumpers or they're designed for fenders. They can rotate and lay flat. The one that we just built up today is from Steck. This is their panel tree stand. And what I like about this is, especially if you have 2 of them, this can hang a bunch of little parts on it. So when you're picking up a part, spraying it and putting it down, all these arms are adjustable, but I can paint the front side and the back side of 2 doors, or in this case, I have a door and a fender. This is not very expensive. You buy it once and these things could last 20 or 30 years in a production shop. So check out Steck's website, invest in a good stand, and you'll definitely be happier down the road. Here's another little part from Steck that I really like is if you're working on a lot of tailgates or hood, or in this case, a deck lid, it attaches to the latch. And the cool thing is I can pull this down and it latches, but it's actually adjustable. So I can change the height to whatever I like. This guy's only 30, 40 bucks. But what I like about that, if I was rubbing this or if I was sanding some primer or whatever, is I can make this deck lid or a hood or even a door stay open as closed as I want to. That's a great little tool for not a lot of money. You have to know what kind of lights you need. There's a big difference between normal lights and color corrective lights. Now, if you're in the booth with a $20 LED and you're checking your base to make sure it's covered before you go to clear, a $20 LED light may be fine. But what if you're matching color? You want a color corrective light. I don't care if it's the 3M sun gun that's super popular or one of these scan grips that are super popular. These lights are specifically designed to mimic the sun's rays so you can actually match color better. It's nice to invest in one of these, especially if you're in a production shop and you're matching a lot of colors. Nothing beats matching colors outside in direct sunlight, but that's not always an option. Maybe your car's in the booth, maybe it's a rainy day or an overcast day. Sooner or later, if you're doing enough jobs, you're gonna need to invest in a good, high quality, color corrective light. Since the beginning of time in the auto body industry, we've always had Scotch Brights, and the 2 most popular are the red, some people call them maroon, or the grays. And let's say the reds are 320 to 400 grit. If you can't sand something and it's still shiny, these make sense. But the thing that I always question is let's say I was primering something and these are around 400. Why am I putting a 400 grit scratch and putting primer over it? And the answer's always been, well, it's better than priming over an unsanded surface. There's something better, all right? If you're priming with, let's say, a waterborne or a UV, you might want to be priming over a 320 or 400 grit scratch. But for the guys that are using polyester or the guys that are using urethane, most companies are recommending between a 150 and a 240 grit scratch. enter Norton Softtouch system. They make 5 different grits. And when you see it says on the back like 120 to 180, it means you can use them wet or dry. The lower number is if you use it dry. The higher number is if you use it wet. You can even take a razor blade or a pair of scissors and cut them up. What I like about these is a traditional Scotch-Brite does not sand, it rounds it. So if you have peel and texture, it's still gonna be there. These are like Sandpaper and a Scotch-Brite had a kid. So if you're not using the Norton Softtouch system, you really need to get on these. Wet or dry, they work great. If you've ever been to any kind of major paint school, the first rule that they always teach you is wash the part or the project before you start working on it. And that's great for a car. I'm all about having clean paint jobs. We even made a video on it. If you haven't seen it, go check it out because we talk about waterborne versus solvent. Today, we're just talking about solvent cleaners right now. Am I really gonna break out a bucket of soap and water and wash this brand new OEM e-coated part? Some of you do, but 99% of us are not. Here's a good trick, is whether you wash it or not, take some wax and grease remover, this is solvent, and shoot it on the vehicle, all right? I got this part completely covered. It comes out very peely at first, but if I wait a couple 10 seconds, it will actually flow out. What I'm doing is I'm using my viewing angle and the light angle to look for any kind of weird dents or any imperfections or stamping marks in the corner, because there's nothing worse than taking a flat, or I should say semi-gloss part, painting it and go, oh my God, I gotta repaint it because we missed a dent. So by putting this wax and grease remover on it and looking in the light and checking to make sure that there's no flaws in it, it's gonna save me do-overs, and I can either use a microfiber or a lint-free towel and wipe the part off afterwards, because I had to do this step anyway. So that extra 30 seconds or 60 seconds is just quality control that should be included in every part that you fix. Now, I don't like taking solvent and spraying it over polyester or Bondo or body filler or whatever you want to call it. Solvent cleaners are not the only game in town. Eastwood makes a panel check fluid where if you prime something and you want to wet it up to see if that wave is still there or if your body work is true, this stuff works really well too, and it's not very expensive. So however you do it, work some quality control on your parts. Learn how to load your blocks properly. This is something that 90% of technicians do wrong because I've been doing it for 30 years. What guys will do is they'll take a block and they'll rip off too much paper and they'll put it on. And look at all that waste. Or what they'll do is they'll take and it'll be a little bit too short and then it's a waste. When you buy your rolls of adhesive back paper, they come like this. What you want to do is to buy a little cart, a little dolly, and you can actually label on them. They're a little expensive, but I've had some that are 20, 30 years old. This is going to save you time and money. Think about loading a block that's this big. What I do, no matter how long or how short the block is, I put the block here, so I'm actually touching it. I pull this out, I bring it to the end. When I stop, all I do is I use my block to hold it down. It rips it off nice. If I've got a big block, I can lay it down, and I simply install the sandpaper onto the block perfectly with very little waste every time. So learn how to load your blocks properly. It saves time and it saves money. All right, if you watch any of our videos, you know I'm a big fan of investing into good guns. I like buying nice equipment that's gonna last the test of time. I have some Softtouch 90s that are 30 plus years old that can still paint today. But just because you spend money and buy the good guns doesn't mean that they're gonna last forever. What do I mean by that? You gotta take care of your guns. This product by Sem called Triple X This is a great gun cleaner that I can do the final clean and spray inside my gun and air cap after I get done wiping it down. Also, and I don't care what name brand is, this is the DeVilvis, is buy a nice gun cleaning kit. This kit right here has everything that I need. It'll help me take care of these guns. Most of my guns are like $400 on the low end to $1,000 plus. And investing a little bit of money into them is going to be worth it in the long run. Now, most of you guys are going to start off with 2 guns. You're going to have a primer gun, and then you're going to have a top coat gun. And that's fine. That's the way I started. Down the road, I might add a 3rd gun, and maybe that's like a clear only gun or an HVLP for my metallics, candies, and pearls. Now, the next step of that evolution of gun ownership is I'm gonna start to get dedicated guns. Don't laugh, it happens to all of us. I would love for you to have a clear only gun one day that's never had any metallic, candy, or pearl sprayed through it, and it has only had clear in it. If you do that and you take care of them, it's gonna save you money and save you time in the long run. Get a letter opener. Quit damaging your paint and putting your paint at risk. Now, what everyone does in our industry is they'll use a razor knife or a razor blade. And usually, 99 out of 100 times, I can cut my plastic and I'll be fine and I won't have any damage. But that 1 out of 100 that I actually scratch the paint, especially for your helpers out there, or if you're a painter and you have helpers, get them one of these bad boys. They're faster and they're way safer to actually cut around my plastic. So these little letter openers are going to be safer and faster. Well, that's it. That's another video. Check out some of our other videos on YouTube. We have a ton of paint and body related stuff. But before we leave, I always want to remind you to be safe and protect yourself. Always wear a respirator when painting, a dust mask when sanding. Always have chemical resistant gloves, and as Norm Abrams used to say, there's nothing more important than these. So until next time, for David and Chevy and Gary from Refinish Media, thanks for watching.